Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from the Navy, Ridgecrest Police Department, a missing person report, a street repair project, and today's KZGN Talking Points editorial.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Wicknick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. In news from the Navy, this story has been brought to my attention by a viewer. I wanted to thank Paul for pointing this out to me. Just like how locust swarms can cause devastating natural disasters, the U.S. Navy's low-cost UAV swarming technology, LOCUST drones, could devastate adversaries. A fitting acronym, the Navy's LOCUST is a new revolutionary technology where swarms of compact drones can work together and execute missions autonomously. Drone swarms could overwhelm threats to the military. The Office of Naval Research recently demonstrated some of their swarm capabilities. They launched their Coyote UAVs that can be used for various types of locust swarm missions. Approximately 3 feet long, Coyote drones weigh about 12 pounds and can fly for about 90 minutes. They can reach a maximum speed of 85 knots. After launch, Coyote's wings unfold to fly. Coyotes were flown into a hurricane last summer to gather information. The demonstration revealed that 9 drones could synchronize and execute formations in flight all on their own. So you ask, how do they work? The Office of Naval Research says the LOCUST program features a tube-based launcher that sends the drones into the air one after another. LOCUST leverages big advantages in how drones can share information with one another. The drones can take action autonomously working together without humans. They can collaborate and execute offensive or defensive missions. Swarms don't just launch from ships, but also from aircraft or large drone platforms. They can also launch from tactical vehicles or ground-based installations. While the drones are autonomous, the Navy stressed that humans will actively monitor missions and be on hand to step in and take control. This level of autonomous swarming flight has never been done before. UAVs that are expendable and reconfigurable will free manned aircraft and traditional weapon systems to do more and essentially multiply combat power at the decreased risk to the warfighter, said Program Manager Lee Mastriani in a press release. There are a number of advantages to drone swarms. Drone swarms could take on missions to free up sailors and U.S. Marines for other work. The Navy says that hundreds of these small UAVs will cost less than a single tactical aircraft, and lowering costs is another great advantage. These UAV swarms could provide sailors and Marines with a significant tactical advantage. Last year, the Navy revealed drone boats that could swarm a threat vessel and overwhelm it. The drone boats would leverage technology developed by NASA for use on its Mars rover. The swarms could also protect Marines and sailors on board larger ships. So the use of UAVs continued to bring major advantages to the Navy. KZGN has received a report of a missing young lady. Amber Woolwine is a 16-year-old white female. She is described as being 5 foot 10 inches tall, 135 pounds, with brown blonde hair and hazel eyes. She was last seen in the area of Wolford Heights, California on 6/11/2015 at about 7 a.m. She may be in the company of Max Kozak. Max Kozak may be an alias name. He is described as a 47-year-old white male. Kozak is 6 feet tall and about 180 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. They may be driving a white Dodge pickup truck with California license 8933MA. If you have any information, please contact the Kern County Sheriff's Office at 661-861-3110 or any police department. The phone number for the Ridgecrest Police is 760-499-5100. Let's help locate this young lady. Remember the descriptions and call police immediately if you spot either of them or the truck. In Ridgecrest Police Department news, the police department is warning residents that locals are being targeted by utility bill scams. Scammers are using different methods to get personal information or cash in fraudulent ways. The common way involves them calling and asking you to use a prepaid debit card to pay a bill or replace old equipment. Reports have come to the police in that these callers are threatening utility disconnection if payment isn't made. Businesses are being targeted when they are busy and might not pay close attention to the call. Scammers are also targeting the elderly. They search for information on you, so when they call, they sound legitimate. Additionally, they are using the internet, emails, and social media to get your information. They also try and persuade you to provide account information. The police recommend that if you get any of these type calls, try and get their callback information. Then hang up and call the real utility. Don't call the number they provide if they provide one at all. Usually they won't provide a callback number, but if they do, then you can report that number to the police department. If you've already provided information to some unknown caller, contact your credit card companies and alert them to the potential fraudulent call. You can also contact the 3 main credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. If you get a call, hang up and notify the police department. The police can be reached at 760-499-5100. In news from the Ridgecrest Public Works Department, the Street Department is announcing that road work will be performed on the westbound lane of Upjohn between Holly Canyon and Cairn Street. This is along the East Upjohn section. Access to the area will be available at all times. However, there may be delays in going through the area. The Street Department is asking that all residents not park their vehicles on the street during the construction time of 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The road resurfacing will be carried out starting tomorrow, June 24th, and go through June 30th. And it is recommended that if you don't live right in the immediate area, try and avoid it altogether. It will only be an inconvenience for a week. It will be dirty, slow, and possibly congested. And pay attention to any reduced speed limit signs in the construction zones. Fines are doubled in these zones, and the Ridgecrest Police Department will be enforcing all speed limits. Stay tuned for today's KZGN Talking Points editorial when we come back. Now it's time for the 53rd KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Should the Confederate flag be removed from the South Carolina State Capitol grounds? But first, a couple comments about last Thursday's editorial titled, Do you realize the city raised our sewer fees 50% last night? It was an editorial analyzing the city voting to increase our sewer rates by 50%. A single-family home went from $252 per year to $354 per year, and commercial rates went up 50% as well. Larry wrote, $152 increase in our tax bill for residential service. It sucks to pay for something I don't even use. It was never considered that there are some households that are not connected to the sewer. Actually, Larry, the city has acknowledged that not everyone is hooked up to the sewer. If your residence is not hooked up, then there would be no fee. I suggest you check your tax bill if you're not hooked up. I know you live out in Ridgecrest Heights. So did I back in the 1980s. While I was living out there in the 1980s, the city came through every street installing city sewer and tried to get everyone hooked up. I know I was hooked up and my septic removed. So, for those of you in Ridgecrest Heights, you may have gotten hooked up without paying attention. Also, Doris asked about churches. You're right, the table doesn't show any church category. I'll inquire with the city and see what they say. But I suspect it might fall under the exempt category. But I don't know for sure. Now on to today's editorial topic. Should the Confederate flag be removed from the South Carolina State Capitol grounds? We all know all about the shootings that happened at the church. Since it was a hate crime, many people are strongly calling for the removal of the Confederate flag from the state capitol grounds. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley on Monday called on lawmakers to take down the Confederate battle flag at the state capitol grounds, a week after a white gunman allegedly shot dead 9 black worshipers at a historic church. The flag that has flown at the State House grounds in Columbia for half a century became a fresh focus of criticism after the Charleston church massacre. Federal authorities are investigating the attack as a hate crime and an act of terrorism by accused gunman Dylan Roof, 21, who posed with the flag in photos posted online. It's time to remove the flag from the Capitol grounds, Haley, a Republican, told a news conference in the state capitol about 100 miles from the shooting. The flag, while an integral part of our past, does not represent the future of our great state. Well, this story has provided some interesting news. Example, the governor can order all flags at the Capitol to be flown at half-mast or lowered altogether. But guess what? The governor cannot order the Confederate flag to be lowered. Only the state legislature has that authority. Pretty strange. So the Confederate flag has more protection than the American flag. I wonder what happens when the president orders all flags to be half-mast. Is the flag then lowered under his orders? The governor wants the legislature to vote and remove it completely before they leave on summer recess. Some have said they will go on vacation without voting. Well, the governor said she will use her authority to call them back into session to handle the issue if they try to leave. And she does have that authority. Well, what do you think? Should it be removed? Sure, it represents a very difficult time in our country's history, but it probably is time for them to move on. The war is over. Just as we always wind up friends to countries that were once our enemy through a war, the North and South are no longer enemies, but friends. Should we forget about the war? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, Shannon and I watched a TV documentary of the Gettysburg Battle just Sunday evening. What a battle. Over 50,000 soldiers fell in that 3-day battle. It should never be forgotten. I've got a personal story about how some in the South still feel temper against the North. About 10 years ago, when I still worked for the Navy, I went to a meeting at Pax River. I had some spare time, so I went sightseeing. I went out to the tip of the peninsula that Pax is on. At the tip of the peninsula was the remains of an old Civil War hospital. Stuck in the ground were 2 flags, one Stars and Stripes and one Confederate flag. I know the federal law states that the Stars and Stripes must always be the highest of any flag in the immediate area. Well, in this display, both flags were the same height. I should make it clear that they were very small flags, about 2 feet high. Well, noticing the obvious error, I went over and pushed the Confederate flag down into the ground just about an inch, just so it was slightly lower than the Stars and Stripes. I just thought it was an oversight by whoever put the flags up, and I really didn't think much of it until later. That evening, as I sat with people that lived there, I told them what I did. A couple of them were very horrified at what I'd done. They declared that I was lucky I didn't get shot. Well, now I was stunned. I never even thought that doing what I did would offend anyone. I thought it was the right thing to do. After a lengthy dinner discussion, it seemed to me that the war might not be completely over for all Southerners. But it should be. Even though the North technically won the war, no one really won. Mothers and daughters lost thousands and thousands of fathers and sons to the war. Everyone suffered. The people I was dining with agreed that maybe all should be set aside and everyone should just move on. But they declared that there are diehard Southerners that will never forget the war. But the war is over. It really is. So should the Confederate flag stay flying in South Carolina? Due to the First Amendment, I believe that if people want to fly it at their homes, they have a right to do so. So nothing should be done to infringe on that right. But as far as on the state capitol, it's time to move on. In conclusion, put the flag away as a state-sponsored flag. However, do not infringe on the people's First Amendment right to fly it at their homes if they want to. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email in to info@kzgn.net. Stay tuned for weather and sports after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. The National Weather Service is forecasting a risk of severe thunderstorms across portions of the eastern and central U.S. This includes the Ohio Valley and central Appalachians to the southern New England. Damaging wind, large hail, and possible tornadoes are expected. Other areas of severe weather potential include parts of the northern and central plains. And a few temperatures across the nation. Carolinas came in at 91, Arkansas 92, Kansas 84, Colorado 76, New Mexico 86, and Arizona 98. On our local radar, clear, nothing showing as far as any precipitation coming anytime soon. For our forecast, tonight will be mostly clear with a low around 69, south-southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour. Wednesday will be sunny and hot with a high near 105, calm wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, clear with a low around 73, west wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Thursday will be sunny and hot with a high near 107 with calm wind. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 76, west-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 106, calm wind. Friday night, partly cloudy with a low around 76, southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. And that is your weather for the IWV. Now back to Tom and the rest of your KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. And now, Tom Heck with the Sports Report.
And a very pleasant Tuesday afternoon to everybody. Let's start with the Angels. Boy, Luis Pujols. You wouldn't know he's 35 years old right now. He's hitting like he's about 18. 2 more home runs last night. He leads the American League in home runs. He now has 24. He hit number 541 and 542 last night at the Big A, both solo home runs to help the Angels win 4-3. The next person he's going to pass on the all-time home run list will be the famous Mike Schmidt, who was the Phillies' star slugger for 13 years. All right, the Angels in Houston again. It's a pivotal series. Houston came in 5.5 games in front of the Angels, and now the lead 4.5. The Astros, much better this year than they've been the last, really, 7-8 years. It's been that long since they've been a competitor. Pujols also leads the AL. He has 47 RBIs. All right, Mike Trout had a walk in the 6th inning, and then Pujols hit his home run. That's what put the Angels up 2-1 last night. Hector Santiago pitched well. He went 6 innings, only gave up 2 hits, but he had nothing to do with it, as it was another game where he was a no decision. All right, Kansas City beat Seattle. They beat Felix Hernandez. Hernandez has lost 3 games in a row. The Phillies beat the Yankees. The Phillies have won 2 games in a row now. Their longest winning streak of the year is 3. They're in last place, 21 games below 500. Toronto beats Tampa Bay 8-5. Detroit over Cleveland by that same score. Chicago beats the Dodgers 4-2 at Wrigley Field in Chicago. The Dodger lead over the Giants now is 1 game. The Dodgers fresh off, winning 2 of 3 from, or rather losing 2 of 3 from San Francisco. Minnesota beat Chicago last night, and the White Sox modest 3-game winning streak is snapped. The final score 13-2 in that game. Minnesota right now, their best start offensively in a long, long time. Twins hitting the baseball pretty well. All right, looking at the National League Baseball standings right now. Hopefully Joey has those up there. The Cardinals, Pittsburgh, and Cubs, the top 3 teams in the Central right now. St. Louis has a 6-game lead over Pittsburgh. The Pirates this last weekend were swept by Atlanta. They were off yesterday. And the Cubs, 8 games over 500, their best start in the last 6 years. Over in the East, Washington 37 wins, the Mets 36 wins, and the Braves 35 wins. The Braves playing very well right now. So those teams all battling it out for first place. And then in the West, the Dodgers with a 1-game lead over the Giants and a 4-game lead over Arizona. The Diamondbacks have won 8 of 10. They're starting to play better baseball. All right, College World Series in Omaha last night. 5-0 Vanderbilt wins game 1 of the best of 3. They beat Virginia. Now this last week, Vanderbilt had to beat Texas Christian to get into the final championship round, and Florida was taken out by Virginia in the best of 3. Virginia, again, playing good baseball. They barely made the NCAA tournament. They barely made the regionals. They had to play real well in their league tournament at the end to even qualify, and now they're in the championship series. It's a best of 3, game 2 tonight in Omaha. They're back through the wall. They have to win, though. If they do win tonight, it'll force a game 3 tomorrow night in Omaha. Okay, Women's Soccer World Cup. The USA wins again. They beat Colombia 2-0. Now, they are in the quarterfinals. They'll play again on Wednesday. So the ladies playing very well right now in the World Cup soccer. That's your sports for this Tuesday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay with us for a video of a bear swimming in someone's pool. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk with Tom Heck.
Loser. Are you a happy bear this morning? I don't have nothing for you. Get away from me, wet bear. the booger bear.